Hello, welcome back to Pure Back Reps, and this week it's What's On
at Beachhead. Yeah, so I went to Beachhead. As you can tell, there is no Harrison in front of us because leading up to the event, they decided that they were going to go with a set of rules that doesn't really work for Harrison. So he falls into two separate categories of rules, doesn't he, Martin? He falls into large models, which is you can deploy the model in your deployment zone but hanging over the edge of the board. If they do so, you can't do anything turn one, essentially. You can't interact. Well, your opponent can interact with the model, but you can't interact at all with the model. So you can't move it, you can't do actions, can't shoot, psychic powers, none of that. So the other rule, it works typically on aircraft, where you can instead have the model still deployed in your deployment zone, but hanging over your deployment zone edge. Because with aircraft, you measure to the base and not the actual model. So tournaments tend to rule either or, and unfortunately this time round, they decided to go with the large models and say that Harrison couldn't do anything turn one. So there is no Harrison Daniels.
See what happens when you leave Cornwall?
I know.
All goes to fuck.
Yeah, it does all go to fuck. But it doesn't matter. I went with my second list. My third list has a lot more Gribblies and still had Harrison in it. Yeah. But it was the fact that, because essentially, it only really affects me in 2 of my games, because out of 9 of the missions, 2 of them have the Dawn of War deployment, which is the only deployment where you can't physically deploy a Harrison without it being over the table edge. So it's only really going to affect me in the other 7 games, but it just depends on what missions are actually being played at the event. So
before we delve too much into your army list and stuff, what is... Do you want to let everyone know what Beachhead is and what it was?
Beachhead is the first large event. I think they were originally going for a major.
Yeah. They fell short.
But no, they were going for a super major. Yeah. After a while, that's why so originally when we bought the tickets, it was a 5-round event at a major. And then there had quite a lot of people go in. So then they decided, right, okay, we'll up it to 6 games and make it a super major. And because we're doing a super major, we might as well do 7 games. But then they had a lot of dropouts. But then they still kept the 7 games. So it's normally the first largest event of the year in the UK. I think actually it's the largest event in the world this year. The first event leading into the start of the OCC season. Yeah. So it's hosted in Bournemouth. It's not just 40k. There's also Age of Sigmar. You've got some bolt action that was there, but then also they got a couple of stalls and stuff that are there.
I've seen they had the Titans all laid out.
Yeah, they had Titanicus as well kicking off as well.
I've seen them all playing the big models walking around.
Yeah, I think it was last year, wasn't it? I think last year they because this was the first time I've been, but I've seen pictures. I'm pretty sure they played a Titanicus game with the actual Titans. Yeah. So that would have been epic. They didn't do that this time, but they were having an Titanicus game tournament thing going on. So I think we had 156 players, I think, at this event. Mm-hmm. There were still dropouts, even going into first round. My opponent dropped out. But it's still quite a large event. Still quite a lot of players there. So that's essentially Beachhead. It is the first largest event of the OTC season. So
obviously you got a lot of the big tournament players will go to as well.
There was there was Manny, from Glasshammer, same with Dan as well. Dan from Glasshammer. You had Malik.
Don't mention someone's name. We're not doing that.
Yeah, so you had Malik, you had Vic. There was a couple of other names that were there. So you had John, or otherwise known as Ace Face. You had
Box was there.
Yeah, Box. Well, he was there for one day because he went out and got rather drunk on the Friday night, and then spent the Saturday in the hotel room being sick. So so obviously Box was there. Kenobi was there. Jamie from Tabletop Life was there as well. He travelled over from the States to come to the event. Just trying to think who else is there. I expect I'll remember as we go on. So, but yeah.
Oh, you had obviously George from Real Space.
Yeah, obviously, all the Real Space
Yes.
guys as well.
Can't forget that.
George. How can I forget George?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, there's quite a lot of names that went. So, and obviously Paddy from Bugle Bat Reps as well. He was there.
Oh, and Ant and Mikey on Bugle Bat Reps as well.
Ant and Mikey went. Ant did surprisingly well. Well, for him it was surprising. I knew that he would do not as good as what he did, but I knew he'd certainly win a lot more than 0 games that he thought he was going to go into. I knew that he'd win probably 2 of his games going into the event. So
I believed in your Ant, do I?
I believe in him. I believe in him. But I generally thought it was going to be a lot more cutthroat than what it was.
Yeah.
Like, all the games that I played were pretty chilled, to be fair. I mean, I always do the same spiel whenever I go into any games. Like, look, I'm not here to win the event. I'm here to have a laugh. You know, if you forget anything, go back and do it, as long as it's not impacted the game. And every single one of my opponents was like, brilliant, yep, ideal. That's the sort of game I want. Especially when you're playing 7 games. You know, you're gonna forget stuff, which I'll come on to later anyway. You know, you're gonna forget things. You're gonna need to go back and do stuff, because I don't like beating someone because they forgot to do something. I like beating someone at their best. You know, so when they haven't forgotten anything, they haven't done any stupid moves or anything like that. You know, so yeah, it was me, George, and a guy from the Mad for Miniature store, Martin. We all went up together. Stayed in a hotel that we weren't a big fan of. Then it was probably a 20-minute walk to the event. We drove it anyway. Parking is just obscene as well in Bournemouth. It's absolutely obscene. Like, if you're going to go anywhere or go to Bournemouth, try and get as close as you can to the actual venue, because we were forking out anywhere between 10 and 15 quid to park for the day, which is not what you want when you go to an event. It's already an expensive thing.
Yeah.
You know, the fuel, the hotel, the price of the ticket, like food and stuff while you're out. You then don't want the added expense of like anywhere between like 30 and 40 quid to park your bloody car. So we decided that that's what we're going to do. We're going to drive to here, there, and everywhere, because it wasn't the best of weathers either. It was pissing down rain at one point. But yeah, that was essentially the build up to the event while we were there. So as I said, originally I was going to use my Harrison Daniels list, and then they changed it after I'd already decided, right, this is what I'm going to do. So I decided to go with Plan B.
Which is this?
This is the list. So it's Crusher Stampede, Leviathan, and his battalion. So to kick things off, we got my Warlord, which is good old Slayer. So he's a high tyrant with wings, twin Devourers with brain each worm. So that's 18-inch range, 12 shots, strength 6, minus nothing, 1 damage. He's got the monstrous bone swords, which have the relic, so he is now ignoring invols. He has sacrificed his warlord trait to give himself a mutation. So his mutation I've given him is monstrous size, which is +1 strength, an additional -1 AP, and +1 damage to a melee weapon. So obviously his bone swords. So now he's strength 7, -3, and flat 4 ignoring invols. He's a beast. because of points, I've also given him toxin sacs and adrenal glands. So any rolls of 6s to wound causes an additional damage. So on a 6, he's doing 5 damage, ignoring invols. And the adrenal glands give him +1 to his advance and charge rolls. So that's my Warlord. Moving to the second HQ is Swarmlord. Swarmlord. Then my third and final HQ is Slasher. So it's a Hive Tyrant with 2 sets of Cybern Talons. Wings, toxin sacs, adrenal glands again because of points. And I spent a point to give him an extra relic. Originally I was going for the -1 to wound. And I was talking to Don from Real Space Raiders, or Let's Talk 40k.
Yes.
And he convinced me otherwise. He was like, at the end of the day, the secondaries that you're going for, you're better off taking a relic that helps with that secondary. So that's what I took. So I took the Void Crown, which is I get to know an extra power from the Codex. So powers wise, he had the Horror and Paroxysm, so that's -1 to hit, -1 leadership, and then Paroxysm is pick a unit, fights last. Swarmlord had Onslaught, so advance and charge, and Catalyst, so a 5-up feel no pain. And then Slasher, he had the Stampede ones of 4-up invul to a non-synapse unit, or synapse monster, and pick a model, and it's plus D3 attacks. So then off the Hive Mind Discipline, so from the Codex, I picked Psychic Scream. So then if I needed to do the extra smite, it's there. It's in the box if I need it. So so you get to know an extra power. You get to do a psychic action and then cast a normal power, which is why I picked it, because obviously the secondaries that I take. And finally, if I roll a 9+ to cast a power, you cannot deny it. So that's pretty cool. It's very handy. It came to clutch a couple of games. So that's my HQs. Going into troops, I've got 3 squads of warriors. So 2 squads have Cybern Talons Death Spitters, and 1 squad has Twin Cybern Talons, and they've all got the Bioweapon Bond Synapse link. So pick a unit, they get +1 to hit. So again, you need it for Tyranids, especially Crusher, because I mean, like hitting on 4s, hitting on 4s for these guys. Already hitting on 2s, but then like they can use them on themselves as well. So now they're hitting on 2s in combat. Again, hitting on 3s, but I'm over and iron about this guy. I'll come on to him later. So those are my troops. Moving into my elites, I got 2 Horuspaxes. These guys are awesome. So I spent a point to give Slayer an extra Warlord trait. I sacrificed that Warlord trait to give 1 monster of size again, and then the other one I spent a point on Prodigy of the Hive to give them a mutation. So the mutation now is on the. So just to give you guys an idea, so they've got 4 attacks. So you can either attack with the Shoveling Claws, which are ×2 strength, -3 and D6 damage. Then we've got Nervo Infestation. So yeah, D6 damage. So none of those like a Power Fist, but they don't do -1 to hit. They're already hitting on 4s anyway. So the Ravenous Maw, they are Strength 7 base, so Strength user, -1 D3 damage. So with the monster of size, they're now Strength 8, -2 D3 +1 damage. For every attack that you make with that weapon, you get to make D3 attacks instead of 1. So essentially, potential 7 D3 attacks. For every non-vehicle model that you kill, you get to regen a wound previously lost, and then you get to make an attack with your Shoveling Claws. So they get to make a lot of attacks. I think if like the stars align, I think I can take out I think it's just over 40 racks. I think in 1 round of combat with one of them. That's with it fighting again, dying, and then fighting on death. So yeah, they pack a punch. So those are my elites. Moving into my heavy support, we've got good old Barbie, good old faithful Barbie. I think he only died in like 1 of my games. They just like looked at him and just went, yeah, I'm just gonna ignore him. All he did is just like inflict wounds off stuff. Because the problem is his weapon is only damage 2. In combat, which is the reason why I took him, one of the reasons why I took him over Hive Guard, is because he can do combat as well.
Yeah.
You know, he's still getting 4 or 5 attacks in combat, hitting on 3s or hitting on 2s with Bioweapon Bond, rerolling the 1s because they're Siphon Talons, strength 10, -3, and the D3 +3 damage each. So, you know, they still pack a punch in combat. The reason why I took him over the Hive Guard is because it's flat damage 2. So when I'm coming up against like the Grey Knight matchup, for instance, like I'm not having to then roll D3 damage to see if I actually kill a dude. It's just point blank kill a dude. But there wasn't a great deal of Space Marine players there. Not even Grey Knight ones. No, I think...
Because they're all playing Tower and fucking States.
I think I only clocked like 4 or 5 Grey Knight players. You know, so it's like there's not a great deal there. Then... So yeah, there's Barbie. Then we go into the Tyrannofax. So he's still quite dusty, you know, because he's been on the shelf for a while. In other words, I used him to set an objective because he's got an Acid Flamer. So that is Strength as User. So it's like Strength 7, Strength 6, and then Strength 5, -1, and D3 damage. And it's 2d6 shots each, range 18. But if I don't move in the previous movement phase, he gets to shoot twice. So it's 4d6 flamers. A lot of flamers. So obviously they're going to charge me. I'm sat on objectives, so if they want that objective, they've got to charge me. They're going to get overwatched. They're going to take a lot of damage, you know. Plus he's a T8 monster with like 13 or 14 wounds. He's no slouch to get rid of.
Yeah.
You know, he doesn't fight very well in combat, but like he's going to blast you off the objective anyway in my shooting phase, so it doesn't really matter. Then we move into the flyer slots. We've taken 2 Harpies. I've predicted it before Leviathan dropped that Harpies are going to be the new meta, and it looks like I was right because every single Tyranid list that was at the event had at least 1 Harpy in it.
Yeah.
You know.
I know why. You'll talk through why people are taking them.
So they don't have aircraft. They're just a flying monster, or a monster with the fly keyword. They got a base move of 30, Martin.
Yeah.
They can take objectives. So if, say, what happened in both my Custodes games, they both took banners. So I denied them banners turn 1 because I fly over onto their objective. They move onto the objective. They can't do banners because they've got monsters sat on their objectives. So there's no banners for a turn. The other thing as well is they get me engage if I wanted to take engage. Plus as well, they count as 12 models on an objective as well for capturing objectives. I can then go, right, okay, start my turn, make that an obsec, fly it over, sit on your objective. It's obsec now until
12 wounds.
Yeah, with 12 models.
Yeah. That's the trick.
Yeah, that's the trick. That's why they're really good.
The 12 wounds is good as it is.
Yeah.
But be able to make it obsec as well, just...
Yeah. Plus as well, they're a whole thing of, right, yeah, shoot me, don't shoot the things here, shoot these guys because, you know, they're the ones that are stopping you from getting points at that moment in time. So that's why Harpies are great. I would definitely consider running at least 1 Harpy in any Tyranid list, even if you're not running Crusher. Like, if you're not running Leviathan at the minute, you're not really running a decent Tyranid list, in my honest opinion. Yeah, Kraken can be still viable. Same with Kronos, could be still viable, but what's the point in Kronos now when you got warriors that are given +1 to hit? You know?
New Codex is coming, so...
New Codex is coming.
Heads up soon.
Yeah,
anyway.
So I think the plan is at the minute to try and get 1 bat rep in before the new Codex comes out. Because I'm a bit spent at the minute on games. You know, I've done 2 tournaments back to back, one of which being a 7-round tournament. And yeah, I'm a bit spent on the old competitive play at the minute. I'm not that if I do end up doing a game or doing a bat rep, this is the list I'll be using, guys, because I'm not bothering to change my list up when the Codex is just around the corner. You know, we're looking end of March, beginning of April, I reckon. So as it stands, it's the week after the tournament. So, you know, we shall see.
Could have made 3 tournaments in a row. You pussied out.
Yeah, so you know, if there is another tournament between now and when the codex comes out, this is my list I'll be using. So,
so you're getting to your games.
So my games. So round one, I was supposed to be playing against a guy using Thousand Suns. So I was the night before we were sat in the restaurant. I was looking through the list and I was trying to figure out what I'll be doing. Essentially, I picked pretty much the same secondaries in every game. I picked Stranglehold because it scored at the end of my turn and I could quite comfortably knock a unit off an objective to get the 3 and possibly the hold more. So I picked Stranglehold. I picked Grind Them Down, which is the kill more. So because again, I don't, as you can tell, I don't have a lot of units on the board, and the ones that are on the board are relatively tough to shift. So killing more shouldn't really be an issue. There's a couple of games where it was an issue, but you know, we'll come into that later. And I picked either Warp Ritual. I picked Warp Ritual for my first 3 or 4 games, and then I probably won't be taking that anymore because I'll probably be taking what's the one where you do it against characters?
Psychic Interrogation.
Interrogation. So I'll probably be taking Interrogation from now on because pretty much every single game that I played, I either got 12 or 15 points off that because of that guy. So Dom, right on the relic, it got me a minimum of 12 points in every game for Warp Ritual. So for psychic actions. So going into round one, my Thousand Sun player dropped. So I had no opponent. There was 3 other guys there that had no opponent either, one of which being Paulie. And Paulie came strolling over and he's like, big smile on his face. Yeah, I want to play you. I was like, I don't really mind. Let's just roll the dice. So the 4 of us, we rolled dice and I said, right, evens play evens, odds play odds. So I rolled first and I got a 4, I think it was. Paulie then rolled, he got an odd and he was like, oh, you know, don't buggery for that. And then it turned out that I was then playing a guy called Gary. Was it Gary? Yes, a guy called Gary, using his Chaos Knights. Now, I haven't played against Chaos Knights since the week that they got released.
Okay.
So nothing's really changed. And I kind of thought, well, I play rather well into Knights. Shouldn't really be an issue. And I was right on the killing potential. Like, it wasn't an issue for me, like picking up Knights. So he deployed rather well. So he had 2 big Knights and I think it's 3 squads of 2 little Knights.
So I'll put his army list here now so you can see it.
Yeah. So just to let you know, the autocannon guys, fucking horrible. All my days, they're like 2d3 shots each, like for each gun.
Yeah.
You know, and horrid. 3 damage as well, so he's doing a minimum of 2. I made a boo-boo going into the game because I don't know why, I generally thought that monsters and vehicles can't move through area terrain. I thought that was the case. Turns out it's not. They can move through.
It's like a 1-inch rule or something like that.
Yeah, in other words, what it comes down to is the fact that they can't move through buildings and ruins.
Yeah.
I thought it was all area terrain.
Yeah, so like with the L-shaped Regoth, they got the base, you can walk over the base.
You can walk over the base, but you can't go
walk through the walls.
Yeah. So I generally thought area terrain, you can't move vehicles, monsters through. So got the feel bad on, so I was like, right, okay, what we'll do is, where essentially were you going to go? And we played it out. So, right, okay, I was going to move over here and do this, that, and the other, shoot that guy, charge this guy, set on that objective. So we played it all through. Unfortunately for him, it didn't go to plan. So the things that he did charge got picked up by being charging into like Swarm Lord and stuff with his little knights, or just shooting a unit and it just not dying.
Yeah.
You know, because I think at one point he was like, right, okay, what I want to do, I want to move this Arbiter around with the auto cannons and target one of my warriors. Yeah. So straight away I was like, right, okay, I'll transhuman that because I'm not letting you wounding me on 3s and picking up a warrior for each damage. So transhumaned it. He rolled. He got like 5 wounds through, I think it was, and I passed 3 of my involves. So one dude was sat there remaining. I was like, oh, buggery for that. So yeah, so there was that. Plus as well, he completely forgot about one of his arbiters hiding behind a building. I was like, he goes, oh no, I can't get engaged now. I was like, what are you on about? You got Armiger there. And he was like, oh no, I completely forgot about that, dude. So I was like, right, okay, well, again, because of the whole Phil Badsey thing, I'll let you shoot him twice, essentially. So that's what he did. I think he managed to pick up one of the harpies through doing it twice. So just run you through on the secondaries that I picked. So I picked Bring It Down because I'm against Knights. I picked Stranglehold because I think we're playing like a 5 objective mission.
Yeah.
It's not hard for me to do Stranglehold. And Warp Ritual. So he picked Bring It Down because, again, monsters. Engage in all fronts and Abhor the Witch because obviously he's got no psychers. Yeah. So and he'll be getting 9 points off doing it. So, which one's my budget one? That one. That one's my budget one. So, in one round of combat, he charged one of the big knights. I spent 2 CP to get +1 to hit, +1 to wound, and +1 to my damage roll.
Yeah.
So charged into his knight, hitting on 3s with full rerolls as well off the psychic power. I spent a point to reroll failed wound rolls as well. So I'm hitting on 3s, wounding him on 3s because of the +1 to wound, rerolling fails. I'm getting my 4 attacks plus D3. I think I rolled a 2 on that, all getting D3 attacks. At -2 with D3 +2 damage on each of them because it's +1 to the damage roll.
Yeah.
So after dealing, I think it's 38 wounds the first night, that one got picked up.
Nice. He
then, in his turn, charged it, whiffed, and then because I still had the +1/+1/+1, no, I spent points on it again to get the +1/+1/+1, and it was already damaged anyway, so it took a couple of damage off the harpies, and he managed to pick that one up as well. So, budget horror specs, managed to pick up 2 knights.
Nice.
In one turn. So,
you said he took Abhor the Witch, yeah?
Yes.
And he all got 9 points because you saw more than 2 high tyrants?
Yes.
But Assassinate with a game 10 for killing the same models?
Assassinate, I did say to him, I said, if you take Assassinate in a ball, then that would have got you a lot more points. Just for killing one, I think it would have worked out. He would have got 6 points for killing one.
Yeah.
But he decided that no, he wanted to go for the Bring It Down, which is what I would have gone for anyway. Yeah. Looking at what's on the table, I would have gone for the Bring It Down over the Assassinate because essentially you only have to kill all but them 2, I think, to get max. Yeah. So, you know.
How did you find knights with like countless 10 models, having obsec on the small ones?
Really didn't bother me. Huh? So because I obviously I went gung ho like straight away. The harpies. Well, no, because he camped out on 2 objectives. He just couldn't take that centre one.
Right.
Whatever he put on that centre one, I picked up. So he couldn't knock me off that. If he knocked me off, I'd then get another unit on there. It wasn't an issue. So that ended on a 49 to Gary and a 97 to me. So lovely guy.
Comfortable win.
Yeah, it was a comfortable win. Yeah. He was a lovely guy. And I saw him a couple of times throughout the event. He seemed to be doing rather well. I think he ended on a 3-4. Yeah. So, you know, really nice guy. Pleasures playing him. And yeah, well, he said, I think he said he's quite new to Chaos Knights. He's not new to Chaos in general. I think he was just new to Chaos Knights. So that's my game 1.
It's a good start.
It was a good start, yeah. So then moving into my game 2, I played a guy called Mikey. So he is a fan of Real Space Raiders. He recognised me by my name with my best mate Paddy. And he was using Jakari. So his list was, I think he's running a Real Space Raid.
Again, you'll see it here.
Yeah. So he had an Archon, the Succubus, a Moculus. The Succubus was like the massive Succubus, so get to like move after attacks and stuff. Had a squad of witches, 2 squads of Carbolites, and a squad of Racks.
Quarter of Archon.
Yeah, quarter of Archon he had in there. He had squad of Grotesque, squad of Talos, and a squad of Cronus, Hellions, or 2 squads of Hellions, a Raider, a Venom, a Ravager, Drazar, Incubi. I think Drazar was his Warlord.
A wide mix of...
Yeah, it was a mix. It was... When someone imagines like the sort of list that you would see in White Dwarf, for instance, it looked like that. But he was a very good player with it as well. I think he was a little bit too cagey. Going into his first turn, because he hid everything. Because the way that deployment was, it was the 9 inches from the middle and table quarters.
Yeah.
So the way that we had it, we had with the centre objective, both ruins. So if you had your stuff touching like the very corner of the ruin, you were able to sit on that objective. And he pretty much put everything behind his L shape, but he was really scared of things behind my L shape. Because obviously I had 2 Horror Spexes in there, I had Barbie was in there, Swarmlord was in there. So it was like, whatever I put on that objective is going to die. So he decided after like turn 2 that he was going to try and go for the flanks. So the way that we're looking at it now, so like I pretty much dominated this objective, and I dominated the top objective up to game turn 3, and then he kind of like overrun that one then. So the Talos should have died after the first round of combat against the Horror Specs, but equally the Talos attacking my Horror Specs should have killed my Horror Specs. So like it was just constant bashing heads the whole entire time. Eventually I managed to pick up his Talos, and then that Horror Specs then went over to the middle, and I think I managed to pick up all but 1 Grotesque. Then Drazar killed it. I then put all my attacks into Drazar, picked up Drazar as well. The Archon managed to pick up Slayer actually. Slayer managed to take out. No, he went for the Cronus originally. Slayer did with the charge. And then the Archon got close and he was like, I'm going to go for the Archon. So he went for the Archon. He decided to opt out using his Shadow Field save, because obviously he wasn't getting it anyway. And out of the 2 attacks that went through, he saved one of his 6-ups or whatever it was he got. And yeah, because it was heavy. The other thing as well was every single ruin was heavy cover. So like in the first round of combat, if you didn't charge, you're getting +1 to your armor save. Just so annoying. We'll come on to that again in next round. But yeah, so the Archon managed to pick up Slayer, but then I think Slasher was the one who took him out in the end. So I picked again Kill More, Hold More, Warp Ritual. He picked Bring It Down, Teleport Homers. So I forgot about fucking Warrior Squad for 2 turns of the game. Completely forgot. Completely forgot about it. No, it's 3 turns. 3 turns of the game. I completely forgot about it. He also picked Hold More as well. So end of that. It was a very close game. Very close game. If I hadn't forgotten about the City Homer guys, then it wouldn't have been as close. So it was an 84 to Mikey and an 86 to me.
Fucking close.
I had a lot of close games in this tournament. A lot of close games. So, yeah, well done to Mikey for an awesome game 2. So, just to go over, so George won his first 2 games and lost his first game. No, won his first game, lost his second game. He lost against another crusher, which was Ace Face. And because I've always kind of like, I'm not saying holding back, but like I do hold back with Dimacaron against most players, because I kind of like to see what they do first and then I react with him. So where with John just goes gung-ho with his Dimacaron, just goes straight in and I witness the power of a Dimacaron on Super Saiyan mode. So that was the end of that. So I can't remember what George played. I know George played against 3 Custodes players, but didn't lose against a single one. Because he was like, well, I need to kind of adapt my list so I'm able to deal with Custodes. Because Custodes took up like 22 players that were there. And I think Tau was like 15 players. Tyranids, I think there was 8. That was the other thing as well, is like so many players came up and going like, I've come over to look at your list and see how you're getting on because you're not using Hive Guard. I'm like, yeah, they're not great into this meta currently because of too many minuses to hit, too many like 4-up invols, and like with the cover that was there. Even though they ignore cover, it's still the fact that like they're going to be the main thing to deal with stuff that are out of cover. So they're going to be working overtime. You're going to be spending a lot of points to make them work. So no, they're out. So going into my game 3 was my first Custodes matchup and my first ever mistake. So stupidly, I picked Kilmore. Why? I don't know.
You feel okay?
I went for Kilmore. I should have gone for No Prisoners. I don't know why I went for Kilmore. It got to like the end of my turn 1.
Pull the rule over your eyes, like
no,
I've only got 3 monarchs.
No,
I'm easy to kill.
No, not at all. Like I just got in the zone of right. These are my objectives I'm taking. This is what I'm doing, and it got to like the end of my turn 1, and I'm like, okay, then Kilmore. Why have I taken Kilmore? Why have I taken Kilmore? And Jay's just like looked at me and went, I don't know. I just thought you were being very keen. I'm like, I'm not that keen. I picked Kilmore, Holdmore, and Walk Ritual again. He picked banners. So he did manage to pick up 1 banner because 1 harpy was literally like an inch away from holding that objective, which is a bit annoying. I didn't want to double move him or advance him because shooting into Custodes when they're sat in cover with other stuff, like it's very hard to pick stuff up, but they're like the best sort of thing I've got in shooting. So damage 3. So I think we've got a doggy that's stuck. Martin's.
So what did the Custode have his list?
So
obviously I'll put it here.
Yeah, so he had Trajan, a random Sisters of Silence bent, a captain on bike. He had 2 squads of sword board dudes, squad of the shooty dudes.
Yeah, forge road.
Then he had 3 squads of bikes, which it was kind of like the staple in every Custodes list was 3 squads of 3 bikes with the missile salvos. He had the sword and board dreadnought, which is my favourite one. I think that's cool. What else did he have? Oh yeah, banner dude. I think that was it. So I mean, like, my biggest mistake was going for the Kilmore. I shouldn't have gone for that. They wouldn't have given me the win, but it would have made a lot more of a closer game. And he went for Holdmore as well. So I went first. I did not want to go first because he needed to come forwards because of his Holdmore. He needed to come forwards, and it was again a 5 objective game. Which it was a fight in the centre. I went first, and stupidly again, I decided, nope, I'm going to charge with this unit that was sat on the centre objective. Idiot. Which then meant I wasn't holding the centre objective, which meant I didn't get... Oh, no, I did get Holdmore. No, I was just looking, because I did have another unit. I think I had him on there because he was doing psychic powers. But yeah, I shouldn't have charged him. Should have just let him come to me. But again, I needed him to come to me because he had bikes that were just zipping around. I couldn't touch his bikes. I'm
guessing the bikes took down the harpies pretty quickly.
Yeah, well, no, he took the one out with his dreadnought and the other one stuck around for another turn. I think he had to send his captain over in the end to deal with it. It was just that 1 point transhuman. It's horrid. 1 point transhuman. What the fuck? So it was great as well running this sort of list because he's like, what the hell does that do? What the hell do these things do? What do these things do? What the fuck? I don't know what any of this does. Like the other thing as well, other than playing against my last 2 matchups, like nobody's ever faced the Crusher. They know what it does, but they never faced against it. But then even the stuff that they do know about, I don't have in my list.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So running the off meta side of things, you know? So that was very tit for tat on kills, like things that he charged did generally kill. And I had to double my efforts to kill because like I'm only like -1 and -2 on the damage for stuff, and when he's sat in cover, when it's heavy cover, it's not very fun. You know, going into a custodes unit and they still got 2-up armor, it's not the most fun thing in the world. So to break it down, I did get kill more on the last turn of the game. So I scored 3 on that. Scored because of the hold more. I just couldn't shift him off objectives.
Nope.
Could not shift him. Only scored at turn 1. Walk Ritual got 12 because I maxed that out in all my games. Banners for him, he got 9. Bring It Down, he got 14. And Hold More, he scored 15. So that ended on a 58 to me and a 93 to him. Now, I worked it out end of the game that if I did take kill points, whatever it was, no prisoners, then it would have ended on 87 to 93.
Close.
It would have been a close game because I think by the end of it, I had killed quite a lot, but I hadn't killed full units.
Yeah.
I think the only unit that I did kill, or the units that I did kill, I killed Trajan because he just went over, killed Trajan, although he did pass a lot of his 5-up saves because he wasn't quite in cover either. He was just kind of like at the backs. He's like, no, nothing's going to get here. He's just going to be there. So he passed quite a lot of his 5s. He was obviously the transhumans. I'm moving on 4s, and he killed him. And then he got him down to a couple of wounds because I passed quite a lot of my 4-ups. But then I had then spend the 3 points to swing again, which again put me back quite a bit, having to spend those points because I'd already committed into Trajan. I then didn't want to go over, do nothing to Trajan and be like, well, there's a waste of like 200 points. Great. So I had to commit and throw those points at him to actually get him to do stuff. So I killed Trajan off, killed the banner dude, and I think I killed the Sister's Bin. I can't remember. But yeah, he did make his points up in the end, but it cost me on the CP. So yeah, I killed Trajan, killed the Dreadnought, killed the shooty dudes, but then like all the other squads were down to like 1 to 2 dudes left. So like I racked up the points on no prisoners, but not on grind.
Oh yeah,
unfortunately. So that was a great game. Lovely guy as well. Apparently he's quite on the scene when it comes to the competitive scene. He does a lot of the glass hammer events. That's another person I saw. Boris. I haven't seen Boris since I faced him at Warhammer World. So it was great catching up with him. Lovely guy. I think he dropped after day 1.
Yeah. Because
like he was like, well, I'm bored of Jakari. I want to play something else. And he likes tricksy armies, and what's better of a tricksy army than Genestealer the Cold? So he went GSC. Never played a game GSC before. He literally just brought what he had, and I think he won his first 3 games, lost his last game, and he was already annoyed with bits and bobs to do with the event anyway, so he just went, nah, I'm just gonna go home. So
is that end of day 1 then?
Nope.
We got one
more game. Yes, I have got one more game. Good old Jakey from Vanguard Tactics. He was using GSC.
I'll pop the picture up now because I'll.
Yeah. So, I didn't think Jakey was going to turn up, so I'm already at the table. You know, I've already set up all the objective markers. I've already like divvied up the terrain because it was very equal. So like we both had like 3-story building, 2-story building, and like 2 1-stories. We both had like a crater and some bits and bobs. So I already divvied that up. Already got my army out. I'm like, where's Jakey? So I quickly texted him. I was like, "Are you gonna come and play?" Because I thought, well, you know, what's the crack with Jake? Because he just buggered off. Because I knew he lost his second or third game. Because we were both on 3-1 at this point. So I was like, I don't know what crack is. He buggered off. Because like the 4th round was the optional round.
Yeah.
Like you didn't have to play it if you didn't want to. Well, you didn't have to play any of your games if you didn't want to. But they just put it down as an optional round. So, but he did eventually turn up.
What are you doing, Jake?
Yeah.
You saw your life out.
I know, right? So there's a lot of things in his list. So he had 2 Patriarchs, the shooty pistol dude.
Kelworth.
He had a Primus, a Magus. I think he had a Magus. Pretty sure he had a Magus.
Again, the list is here now.
Yeah, he had like a load of Black and Decker dudes with their drills and all. A couple of Goliath trucks. And yeah, it's lots of random shenanigans. Oh, squad of Gene Stealers as well. Those Gene Stealers are horrible, although they're not that great when they go into a horror specs. Not that great when they go into a horror specs. They just pick them up. So, I think Jakey went first. So he pretty much put everything into this dude. Like turned off its Overwatch because that would have picked up the squad before they even managed to charge. But he just survived. Like the Black and Deckers just bounced off him. I think they did like a handful of mortal wounds. But like Jake was very cagey with the way that he was playing.
Yeah.
The Goliath trucks kind of went up and just sat on objectives, but then like with this stuff being extremely squishy, like I'm just able to like push him away from everything. Like he shot in combat, killed the first squad, then like Harpies moved up onto objectives. The Harpies survived a lot longer than what I thought they were going to. So again, I picked Kill More, Hold More, Walk Ritual. Jake picked R&D, Brood, which is the one where I think they score 1 point if they have more models in their deployment zone, then another like 2 if they have more in no man's land, and I think they get like 3 if they hold more have more models in your opponent's deployment zone.
Okay.
So it's all about like having ground and having lots of models all over the place and outnumbering your opponent. And he also picked Bring It Down. So it was a fun game. I thoroughly enjoyed my game against Jake. Lovely guy, and it would be a pleasure playing again. It didn't go Jake's way though, because as I said, I was just pushing him off objectives. Although he did get kind of like the morale win, because he did. It was this 1 point stratagem to make a piece of terrain in your opponent's deployment zone. Difficult terrain. Well, obviously he's not Titanic anymore. He's just a monster. So it's like, well, great. So like he's tucked right out of the way, nice and snug in his little nest. Now it's difficult terrain. So like, okay, I'll move out 6. Only like managed to scooch out a little bit, being able to get line of sight on a couple of little things, but nothing substantial. Okay, now I get to move around it. Okay, he's still stuck there. But now, because the only way out essentially put me in a crater. So like for 3 turns, he's like moving all janky through fucking shit terrain and stuff. So he was like, lucky he spent the point and it actually worked. So yeah, it didn't go that well for Jake. He got the first turn in that one. So it ended on a 60 points to Jake and a 94 points to me. So
good. Jake beat me at LGT.
Did he?
So it's good. You got that's 1-1. Fuel back against
Vanguard Tactics is 1-1.
We'll start coaching service up soon, right?
Yeah.
£10.99 a month.
£10.99 a month. Was that going in my pocket or yours?
50-50.
50-50, is it? All right. Okay. Fine. So, yeah, great end to the first day.
I had feedback from Jake as well, saying that was his favourite game in the event for you as well. So
that's nice. Thanks, Jake.
It's good to hear it.
So, but no, the all in all, it was good. It was a good first day. I knew that I didn't go in with a defeatist attitude into my Custodes game, but I knew I would lose because it's Custodes. I don't know anything about what they do. The game against the Knights, I knew I'd do well against the Knights. Jakari, it's funny, other than playing against George, I always feel like I know more about my opponent's army than they know about their own army, if you know what I mean. Like, I know all their tricks before they can do it, because some dickhead keeps doing all the tricks to me before anybody else does. So yeah, I already know what stuff does. I already know like what to avoid and what I can comfortably take out. Apart from the Cronus, because George never uses Cronus, so they caught me out in that game. They're a lot more tough than what I give them credit for.
Because George is off meta.
George is off meta, that's right. So yeah, that was my game 4. That was the end of that day. So George was on a 4-0. Ant was on, I think Ant was on a 2-2.
I think so.
So then.
So end of day 1.
That's end of day 1. Yeah.
Knackered, exhausted, 4 games.
I wasn't actually. No, I was alright.
Because what time did you actually finish last game?
We finished I finished relatively early on that one. Because the good thing about playing an individual like Jake or an individual like me is the fact that we can get a game done, banged out, done, dusted.
Yeah, there's no fucking about.
No fucking about. I think we were done within an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So, but that was the same throughout all my games. Is that I had a lot of time in between rounds because I either roll my opponent or they stick around, and it was only really. No, I think even that Custodes game, I think we were still done with like half an hour to 45 minutes remaining on the round, which is really good. And that was even with the player place terrain.
Yeah.
So, which I actually really enjoyed, player place terrain. Give it a go, man. I'm actually like going to push Martin more to do player place terrain. So I really enjoyed it. Because the worst thing about going into a tournament now, if you're not going to like Warhammer World or going to a local RTT, all the tables are very samey. Like the only thing that changes essentially is where the objective markers are.
Yeah.
You know, I like my games being completely different. So like having the player place terrain where you can like put stuff down where you want it. Like it's all got a restriction, obviously. Like you can only deploy in like your table half, and like you can't be within a certain range of the centre. Like the buildings have to be a certain way away. You can't have. You have to be certain distance away from the board edge and stuff like that. So like you can be very tactical with that as well.
See, I'm not keen on the player place, but I did like how it was at LGT, where each mission they had a terrain, how it should be set up for a mission.
So that's a lot more. I still found that very samey because it is generally all the exact same looking terrain.
Yeah. Like
there was nothing. Like all you had was either ruins or barricades. That was it.
Yeah.
But with this, you had like 3-story buildings, like L-shaped ruins, 2-story boxes, essentially, and then 1-story L-shape, and then you had craters, walls. I say craters, either forests or craters.
I think all the terrain was factorial.
No, foreground.
Yeah, same.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
right, yeah. Really good terrain. It's expensive, but it's really, really good. I think you've got some of the
No, mine's not foreground.
Is it not?
No, mine's Gamemat EU.
Oh, is it?
Go check it out.
Gamemat.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think every single board was foreground stuff, apart from the barricades or the little tankers, because they're all beer cans that have all been converted, and they do look legit. It's not until you pick them up and like it like makes the tinny crumply sound in your hand that you're like, there's a beer can. So yeah, they did a really good job with the terrain. The one thing I don't like about the foreground stuff is there's not a lot of windows.
Yeah.
No. So like essentially every single game that we were playing, I can even hide this dude, or like my high turrets.
Yeah.
I can hide anything behind the buildings, which is really weird. Like normally I'm like, okay, with this dude, yeah, I'm hiding there. Okay, yeah, you can see him through the windows.
Yeah.
Fine. Don't really matter. So it was weird being able to hide this guy. Never really happens. Even the harpies, like behind the 3-story stuff, because it's got no windows on it, so you can hide your harpies. It's weird. So yeah, I do quite like player place terrain.
As much obviously because with that you will have the same set of terrain for all the tables, obviously.
Because that's the other thing as well with the LGT was the fact that because they had exactly the same terrain throughout. Yeah. Like they could do that of like, right, okay, player optimized terrain, I think it's called, isn't it? Where like they're the one, like you rock up to your table, the first 15 minutes of the game isn't on the clock, it's all setting up your terrain. Yeah. So it's like, right, okay, looking at the map, okay, we've got like walls here, we've got like the L shapes in the middle and this, that, and the other. Yeah. So like they put that extra effort into the tournament itself to go, right, okay, what can we do for each of these missions? Yeah. But even then, it was still like, I don't like it because you still got this firing alley down the middle and stuff like that. So I didn't really like it in that sort of sense. With player place, you can optimize your terrain to your own army if you wanted to, or even to like against your opponent. So like with me, like I essentially pushed all my stuff out the way. Yeah. While also pushing my opponent's stuff back, because what I would do is like that's the center line. I would place my like first piece of terrain essentially like right on the center line, which then meant on this side for my opponent it would push their terrain back. Yeah. So that means I'm not worried about trying to maneuver my stuff around, and I kind of bunch their terrain up, if you know what I mean. So like, when it comes to Stranglehold, they are out in the open, they can't hide fuck all. Yeah. So like I'm able to then jump onto objectives and do stuff. But then also when you've got those units like Hive Guard, like it's always a worry rocking up to a bolt and going, I've got nowhere to put my Hive Guard. Or for instance, like these buggies, the ones that not those ones, them ones, the ignore line of sight dudes. Like where am I going to be able to put these so they're not going to get wiped off the board? Turn one. So like essentially, it's down to you. I know a lot people are taking it like Marmite, so you either like it or you don't. I personally like Marmite, and I like player place terrain.
So when do you roll for deployment? After terrain's down or before?
No, so what you do is you roll to see who's the attacker and who's the defender. Okay. The defender places the first piece of terrain. Right, okay. So essentially the player places the first piece of terrain and the first unit because they're the defender. The attacker would then place second and second unit. Okay. So yeah, that was player place terrain. I thoroughly enjoy it. The only thing I don't like is what came to my next game, like heavily into my next game, which was heavy cover on all the ruins. Why they brought that rule in, I have no idea. Don't do it again, because it's fucking horrible. So the next list I played up against was a lovely guy called Daniel from Toys of Mass Destruction. So they're not like a YouTube channel or anything like that. So if you guys ever, obviously you've heard of SM Battle Reports. Well, originally, they didn't used to do bat reps. They used to do like the White Dwarf used to have, where they used to have like the written battle reports. So essentially, you read about like I don't know, like the Swarm Lord, his Stomp Script. They make a story out of it, you know, and that's what Toys of Mass Destruction do. Really good guys. I played against two of them, and it was a pleasure playing against both. So the first guy I played against was Daniel. He was running Sisters. So his chapter tactic, or whatever you want to call it, was ignore AP1. Yeah. AP2 counts as AP1, but obviously they don't ignore that, so they're still getting -1 against AP2. But then, obviously, everything's heavy cover. Yeah. So he's getting that +1 back anyway. And like my stuff that would normally be really good into him, these guys are not very good into them anymore because they're still getting their normal armor save. What he was running, he had essentially, it's somewhere on the screen. So he had Morning Vole, a couple of random bullshit characters, but then he had 3 standard 5-man sister squads.
Yep.
Which he essentially used for his R&D.
Yep.
He had 3 squads of 10, the shield and halberd dudes.
Yep.
So obviously they've got a 2-up armor because of the shield. They're in heavy cover, so now they got a 1-up armor. See where I'm going with this? Then he's got 3 squads of 3
suits.
Yeah, suits with might mowers that have a 2-up armor. And I just couldn't shift them. Like, I went first. So just to give you an idea, so I picked again Kill More, Hold More, Walk Ritual. He picked Defend, which I think was the sisters one. So your opponent picks an objective somewhere on the field. So what it was the diagonal deployment. So you've got an objective marker in each deployment zone, and then you've got 4 objective markers. Essentially,
the new vital intelligence.
I think so. Yeah. So like the centre line, it's got 4 objectives. So I picked the furthest one down in the corner that I knew that I'd be able to essentially stop him from getting. So he'd get 3 points for holding that at the end of his turn.
But his turn.
Yeah, but he'd get an extra 3 points if he holds it at the end of the game.
Okay.
So I essentially pushed him off that for the first 2 turns of the game, because he had to throw everything down there. He had to. But then, like, my turn 1, after realising that bulls, he doesn't have the or heavy cover. So it's like I can't charge him because he's getting a 2-up armor still. I can't do anything to his army because he's getting a 2-up armor. So it's like, great. So now I had to, after my first turn, switch up my tactics completely and go super cagey. Really weird having to play super cagey with this list. It worked because, like, he struggled to kill stuff as well as me killing stuff, because, like, I essentially just fed him a unit a turn.
Yeah.
Which was very difficult. So
you sent your fucking little pretties to a slaughter.
Yeah. It was the only way that I could do it.
You fucking monster.
Yeah, I know. It's the hive mind. You know, I'd even sacrifice Harridan if it means winning that war. So, me going for Killmore, scored 0. Scored 0 and Killmore.
You're speaking of sisters, you're really right.
You'd think it would be great against sisters, but not when they're in heavy cover. Next, Holdmore, because he was too scared to come away from the buildings that he was in.
Yeah. I
was able to get Holdmore throughout pretty much the whole game. It's only the last turn of the game I didn't get Holdmore. But that's because I didn't have a lot left. Walk Ritual, again, maxed out.
Yep.
On Defend for him, he got he scored it in turn 3, 4, 5, but then obviously he held it at the end of the game, so he's getting 6 from that. So he scored 12. Bring it down, he scored 15. I think all I had at the end of that game was a Hive Tyrant. I think it was Hive Tyrant and Swarm Lord, I think, is all I had left at the end of that game. I think. Maybe a squad of warriors as well.
Yep.
His R&D, he only just managed to get that at the end of his turn 5.
Yeah.
Or end turn 5 movement, only just. Because I just kept pushing stuff back, kept putting stuff in the way that didn't allow him to get into my table quarter.
Right.
So he also something else would have come into effect in that game if I had managed to kill off a squad that he had on his home field objective.
Yeah.
But I whiffed.
Is that one that you don't control, you don't get your CP, is it? Or something
no,
like that?
I can't remember what it was. I think it was something to do with the mission secondary. Can't quite remember. But so essentially I charged him into Morning Val, right?
Oh, I know what it is.
So,
If you hold your back objective, you can then do an action or something on the middle ones, can you? And then you score points for a number of objectives.
yes, it is. So essentially what I was trying to do is for him and his turn to not be able to do the action.
Yeah.
So because I essentially knocked him off primary the whole entire game. Like I scored 40 on primary and he scored 19. So like, I knocked him off primary the whole entire game. But because after realising like how hard this matchup was going to be, and I felt like I threw away Slasher up against Morning Vol, because like I was like, right, okay, Morning needs to die because she's giving all the rerolls under the sun. Put Slasher up against him or her. I generally thought I had it in the bag because I had my 4 attacks.
It was at this moment.
4 attacks, +1 for having the extra sword. I rolled a 3 on the +D3 attacks. So that's 8 attacks, Martin. Hitting on 2s, wounding on 3s.
What happened?
And I spent a point to reroll wounds as well.
What happened?
I think 4 went through.
Yeah.
He passed 2 of his saves, which would have meant Morning would have died. But then he used Miracle Dice and he spent a point to do another Miracle Dice at exactly what he needed and didn't die. And then Morning Vol went, okay, I'll fall back. Morty Mowers, get him. Killed him. So, yeah, at that point I was like, I've lost that. I just threw away one of my biggest assets at killing his stuff because the only way I could get around was by taking out stuff with the invols. And I was like, nah, I can't pick up from this. So it come down to 73 points to Daniel. And 74 points to me. What the actual fuck? I generally thought that game's lost. Generally thought it. After like turn 1, essentially. I played my tiny little heart out. And I managed to scrape a win out of that game. So that was the end of my game 5. Lovely guy. Martin put a link in the description for Toys of Mass Destruction because they're worth a look. So next, I come up against a lovely guy called Vince, and he said, lovely, yeah, I've met Martin before at LGT, and like he was saying about, you got SN dice. I was like, yeah, I got SN dice. I got them in a competition. Oh yeah, I was at No Retreat Legends. And I'm like, what? Yeah, I was at No Retreats Legends. I was like, what channel are you on? And he went, I'm Pleasant Kenobi. And I'm like, oh my god, like I hear about him all the time. Like I see him on stream games and stuff, but I've never seen his face. Never seen his face. And he was like, yeah, I'm Pleasant Kenobi. I was like, oh my god. So yeah, I got to play against somebody who I've been a fan of for quite a while. So that was awesome. He was running Custodes. He had the same sort of thing as my first opponent, apart from he didn't have a Dreadnought. He was only running 1 Sword of Board dudes, but he had a squad of sisters. Wasn't running a banner and wasn't running the sister bin HQ, but he did have a Terminator captain and a squad of 3 Terminators. Yeah. So he did make a mistake later on in the game where he decided to split his Terminators off, thinking that he'll be able to get engage.
Can you engage?
Yeah, can't do engage. So I reminded him of that, and he went, do you mind if I take that back? I was like, yeah, man, fine, do it, because, it was a great game anyway. So,
what was the Terminator captain like? Did he have?
So, that one was, I think like a 5-up shrug. I know he had a deny as well.
Did he have a special relic on it?
I can't remember, to be quite honest. So
I got the list, just not to hand.
Yeah, I remember him being quite tough. I know that if Sworn Lord had charged him, he would have died. Because like eventually during the game he did charge Swarm Lord, and because he got to attack first, he managed to bracket Swarm Lord, which then meant with Swarm Lord's janked attacks, because he still hits on 2s, it's just like he's only got like 4 attacks. Like I didn't manage to deal enough wounds. I think I got him down to 1 wound, and I was saving a CP to make a unit of sisters fall back off an objective.
Yeah.
And I decided not to implant attack against it. So I was like, if I had Killmore, then yeah, I would have done it.
Yeah.
But because I didn't have Killmore, I actually went for no prisoners this time. I actually changed up my objectives completely in this game. So I didn't go for grind, I went for no prisoners. I can't remember how many points I did score on that, but I certainly scored a lot more than what I would have if I went for grind. I went for engage because I knew that I'd be able to get points turn 1, turn 2, as opposed to scoring nothing on hold more, because I knew I wouldn't be able to knock them off objectives. So that's when I had to go in for engage. Get all these guys. And mental interrogation, which I maxed out because he had plenty of characters, and it's hard for him not to. Well, that was where it kept, the 9+ can't deny came to clutch twice in that game. So where he was able to spend a point to deny on a 4+, I just went nope, can't do that.
Nice.
This was the mission where if you don't hold your home field objective, you don't get CP.
Tidal conviction.
Yes. And Vince is very like that. He's more than me with his CP. He's just like, yeah, just spend it for days. Because that's why I was going to save that point to stop him from getting CP on his turn. But I decided against it because I thought, guarantee, knowing my luck, he'll roll a 1 and they stay there anyway. And it'll be a waste of CP. And I can't remember what I used that CP on in the end. I think I saved it for next turn. Then I was able to swing on death with something. Can't remember. But that wasn't a close game at all. I had a lot more survived than what I thought I was going to have. Even though he did get 15 on banners. Not banners. Bring it down. So I don't think any of my warriors died. I think he managed to get like 1 or 2 like from each squad.
What hurt you most?
What hurt me the most? What, just in the custodians in general? The bikes?
Yeah.
Because his katars, whatever they are.
Yeah.
So one of them, because obviously it's in 2 separate brackets, isn't it?
Yeah,
so
stance 1, stance 2.
Yeah, so it's stance 1 against vehicles and monsters on a roll of 6 to hit is an auto wound.
Yeah.
And then stance 2 is +1 strength against vehicles and monsters, I think it is.
Oh yeah, so then the spears go strength 8, +1 to wounds, so wounds on 2s.
Yeah. So that's what really hurt me. And he was oohing and ahhing whether or not to keep the 6's auto wound or go for the other one. And I said at the end of the day, you've still got a lot of shooting left. You are better off going for the 6's auto wound because it also works in your shooting where the other one doesn't.
Yeah.
Because he was very cagey on what he's going to charge.
Yeah.
It wasn't like when I was playing against Jay, where Jay just like charged everything he could. Like Vince generally was trying to rack points off, and you can see that in the end point scores as well. Because like he maxed out everything. He got a 97. What did he fall back on? Oh yeah, I denied him his last turn engage.
Yeah. Because
I managed to kill off a unit during my turn and he couldn't quite get something over to that table quarter. So yeah, I managed to deny him his last turn engage. I generally do think it's the bikes with that Qatar.
Yeah.
The missiles, they're still doing 2 damage. Like not 2 damage. D3 +3 damage on the missiles still hurts, you know. But yeah, he was just being a little bit more cagey with his charges because he was very. I'm not saying he was scared. It's just the fact that he attacked everything else. Didn't like these guys at all. Like I think in one of them, I think there was a squad of guard and a squad of bikes that charged one of them, didn't kill it, and then like he's just munching on guard, and like then doing the claw attacks against the bikes, and like I think it got to a point where he had like one bike dude left, and he's like, I'm not gonna kill it with one bike. You've managed to like acquire all of your wounds back, and yeah, I'm not gonna kill it now, so I'm just gonna like fuck off somewhere else. And then Trajan came over and went, sup, dead. So
I can imagine you saying that.
yeah,
I'll just fuck off.
yeah, I'm just gonna fuck off over there because I'm not gonna kill it. Trajan can deal with that fucker. So yeah, again, like these guys were just awesome. It's just like he was being very cagey on his charges. I think, as well, like he just wanted the points, which is what you do. Yeah, it's points mean prizes, you know. So that game, it wasn't close. But it was a really good game and it was a pleasure playing Vince. So that was a 56 to 97 to Vince.
Got some practicing doing against Custodes, didn't you, boy?
Yeah. But as you'll see from the next game, I dodged the fuck out of every Tau player there. So I did not play Tau. I played against Necrons, against a guy called James, and he's also one of the Toys and Mass Destruction guys. Lovely guy. So playing 7 games is horrid. I wasn't really feeling the effects of the games until probably halfway through my game with Vince.
Yeah.
But I'm like, fuck me, man. I am drained mentally and physically. So the James was using Necrons. He had Silent King. He had full squad of flayed ones. One full squad of warriors. One small squad of warriors. Bunch of characters. And Wraiths he had in there. He had a battle barge that just didn't seem to die at all. Like, it's pretty nails, that battle barge. So I went for hold more, kill more, mental interrogation. I whiffed on a couple of rolls for my kill more. Like, for some reason, my horror specs, even with swinging again, didn't manage to pick up a squad of 20 warriors. Yeah. So with my spiel at the start, you know, you forget something, go back and do it. It's absolutely fine. Normally, I'm not one to just go back. I don't normally forget anything, especially when using Tyranids. Fuck me, man. I felt the effects of playing 7 games. I forgot so much. And James, if you're listening, man, you are an absolute diamond. Just letting me go back and do it.
I would have told him to get fucked.
Yeah, you would have told me to get fucked, but absolute gent. Both of the two Toys and Mass Destruction guys, absolute gents. And we talked through the final round only because I said, look, man, I am fucked. I said, realistically, I can do X, Y, and Z. You can do X, Y, and Z. If you want to carry and play on, fine. If not, I'm happy to put the end of that. Job done. So I picked hold more, mental interrogation, kill more. He picked purge the vermin, which is stuff
2 points for every table quarter
that I'm not in.
Holding.
Yeah.
So it's your kind one.
Yeah, bring it down. And he went for R&D as well. So I can't remember. This was pretty sure this was the kill points one. No, it wasn't. I can't remember what this mission was now. I really can't remember.
You forgot that. You forgot that as well, did you?
No, I do remember that. Yeah, I do remember actually. It's you score 2 points if you hold an objective that you didn't previously hold, or if you kill a unit off an objective.
Right.
So, at the end of that, it was once again another extremely close game. He had 89 points to my 88. So extremely close game. If James was like, "Nah, man, you forgot way too much now. Put an end to that bollocks." it would have still been a win to James anyway, but like my score probably would have been down to like 79 or something.
Yeah.
You know, but because he was an absolute gent, I think he knew anyway that he had the game in the bag regardless, because I just couldn't seem to kill anything. Like for my Killmore, I only got it in the first and last turn of the game because like I just wasn't able to kill anything for some stupid unknown reason. I don't know why I couldn't like kill anything. I think all my bugs were just way too tired. But like Holdmore, it was really easy for me to get the Holdmore anyway because I just kept, because he had the full blob of 20, like essentially going onto that home field, the midfield objective. Yeah. But like whenever he remove enough models to get off the objective. Yeah. And then when he'd reanimate, he'd essentially reanimate like out of combat. Yeah. And then shoot fuck out whatever I charged. And while moving back onto the objective, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So that's what he was doing. Like both my horror spexes did fuck all, didn't kill a unit. My harpies actually did a surprising amount in that game. I think like one of my harpies managed to kill both of the tombstone things with Silent King. But yeah, it was a full-on slog. 7 games. I will not be doing a 7-game event again unless it's spread over like 3 days. I can't physically do it. Like even if we did do the game 1 on the Friday, yeah, because you can have the option to do that, but we got there. I generally thought, oh yeah, like that is from like 4:30 or whatever it was. So I thought, right, okay, what we'll do is just get there for about 4 o'clock, play our first game, then go to the hotel. No, it was 3:30. And we rocked up at 4 o'clock, and I'm like, fuck.
How you being late?
No, it's just generally the fact that never. It's just generally the fact that I thought it was 4:30 was you can sign up to play that game. I think even with playing that one game, it would have fucked me right over. I think like if you're gonna do a 7-game event, 3 need to be played on the first day, and then 2 on the other 2. It's just way too much over like 2 days, man. Fuck. Like 6 games I'm happy with. Happy playing 6 games. I don't think that'd be much of an issue. But yeah, playing 7, I felt that by the end of that game. So, but yeah, that was my LGT, my beachhead.
And you finished
top 50, so I think I finished 47th. So, with 4 wins.
Well, you're behind that. Yeah. So, I'll finish off here anyway.
Yeah. So, I didn't finish top mid player because the way that they did the rounds, which it affected George more, but it still annoyed me as well because it would have meant that I would have actually been able to play against certain players as well as like those players that placed higher than me. I'm not saying like Manny got an easy event, but like the games that I saw Manny playing in like day 1 was like, I know full well that he had an easy matchup against them. Like one of them was just like all armigers, and like Manny was running 3 side Tyrajils, 2 Dimacarons, Swarm Lord and Hive Tyrant. Like literally, like he just jump over, munch like 3 units, munch over, kill like 3 units. But like it's that sort of thing where like you're paired up against another winner, not against somebody who was on the same level as you. Yeah. If you know what I mean. So like George essentially at the moment of round 6, George was 5-1. Yeah. So he was 10th at that point. So going into round 7, you'd think he'd pair up against like the person in 9th. No, he played against the person who's currently at the top. Yeah. And so George is sat there with 5-1. The guy who was at the top was sat there on 6 wins, but the person who was sat in second was also in 6 wins. Why the fuck didn't they 2 pair up against each other? Which it should have been. And yeah, that fucked George royally. It was a really shit game, I think, for George in the last games. You don't want your last game in a tournament to be shit.
No.
You want it to be like a laugh, regardless of whether like you've won all your games or lost all your games. You want the last game. You want to end on high.
Yeah.
You know, win or lose, end on high. And I think that ruined that game for George.
Yeah.
I think.
Obviously, we won't mention names, but
No, we don't mention names. But for me, I think I would have played against. I would have liked to think I would have played against another Stampede, because I generally think this list does better in Stampede than the other Stampede lists that were there.
Yeah.
Because they got 300 points of just pure useless against me, because they're at most they're doing 2 damage with their Hive Guard, because every other list bar mine had Hive Guard in there.
Yeah.
And it's like Ace was running a Malasceptor. And it's like, yeah, but he's like, oh yeah, Hive Guard are really good. You know, you just take the Malasceptor. Oh yeah, just take the Malasceptor. Another 200 points in your list just to make a 300 point unit actually work. No. Like I generally think I could have dealt with almost every list, NID list that was there. Manny's list would have been an issue. I would have needed to go first and like kill his Swarm Lord like instantly to slow his army down. Would have been the only way. But I think I ended 3rd mid player. So my first goal was complete at 4 and 3, but the second goal,
so
top mid player, didn't happen.
Custodes was the fucking silver. Yeah, maybe.
Bearing in mind, I went into the tournament blind to Custodes and blind to Tau and blind to GSC. Turns out GSC don't play well into Crusher.
Yeah.
Do
you think you do better against Custodes in the future? Now you've played them a couple of times.
I need to play them more.
Or do you think they're still going to be a struggle for you?
So Crusher is going to be a struggle for. Custodes is going to be a struggle for Crusher because of the buffs that they get against monsters.
Yeah.
I would have used, like, if I had the choice between my 3 lists to go into each of my opponents, I would have chose list 3, which essentially was a Horde list, and it would have still had Harrison in it. I would have still brought Harrison because I would still have 1,300 points of Horde and Harrison, but I would have just put Harrison into reserve with my Warlord trait and then just bring him on turn 2.
Yep.
You know, and I would still like sat on objective because like all the Custodes lists that were there, they could deal with monsters really well. They couldn't really deal with Hordes because they didn't have the amount of attacks and didn't have the amount of shots to deal with deal with the Hordes. So the matchups that were there, they play very well into Tower. They play very well into Crusher. They play very well into Knights. You know, they play well into the meta that's current.
You avoided Tower as well?
I did avoid them, which I was really surprised at. I thought I would have played against at least one Tower player.
Lucky you did.
Lucky I didn't. I think Ant wasn't so lucky. Ant played against a Tower player. George played against, obviously, in his last round.
Yeah.
I don't know Mikey. I don't think Mikey did he? No. So, yeah, I was quite happy with the end result for me.
Yeah.
4 and 3.
So overall rating of the event out of 10 now?
So, because of the shenanigans that went on before and the fact that they decided that every single ruin on the board would be heavy cover, if they didn't have heavy cover, it would be a very comfortable 7, possibly even 8. But because of the heavy cover ruling, they're down to a 6. I think out of 10, because I can deal with the fact that they changed the goalposts on the amount of rounds because they were really hoping for a super major, really hoping. Now, when I was organising tournaments before Martin took over, I was striving to try and get 2-day events and stuff like that. So like anything that you can do to make an event better and to get more notice, like strive for it. You know, if you want to make it a 7-game event and make it a super major, fucking go for it. The things I didn't like were, I don't like Bournemouth in general. I've never liked Bournemouth. Like it's so expensive for what it is. Like even Cornwall isn't that expensive. Like parking, for instance, you want to park in the town, in like any of the town centres in Cornwall, park there for the day, you're looking like 6-7 quid to park for the day. But like the cheapest one that I could find was a tenner for the day, just for parking, which is fucking obscene. The hotels, well, the hotel where we stayed at, I'll never stay in that hotel again. It's certainly not worth 75 quid a night. Like you would get, I would have rather have spent probably less and stay in a travel lodge that was like half-hour drive away, you know. Yeah, I really don't like Bournemouth as a whole. No offence to anybody who lives in Bournemouth, really not a fan of Bournemouth.
Just see subscribers go down now.
Yeah, brilliant. Done your job. So there's that, but then also I really don't like the fact that they allowed towel at the event, because essentially lists were due the day after towel dropped. And then because then they allowed towel, they then pushed the due date for lists to the Tuesday. Really did not like that move. And a lot of other people didn't like that move either. Yeah, fair enough. If it was like, they had their FAQ, lovely job, it's fucking fair game. But the fact that you're allowing a brand new codex, hasn't had an FAQ, nobody is like knows what the fuck Tau does. Not enough coverage of Tau has come out. You know, I generally think that if you were playing Tau, the results show it. I think in the top 5 there was 3 Tau. So Tau with 1 and 2.
Tau everywhere.
Tau 1 and 2, Custodes 3. I think Money was 4th or 5th, 1 and 2. But then so it was, Manny was either in 4th or 5th, but I'm pretty sure there was another Tau player in whatever place Manny wasn't in. So, like,
I mean, like by the sounds of it, it looks like the organisers wanted it to be bigger than it actually was.
Which I'm absolutely happy with. You know, if they wanted to do that, that's fine.
I think like sometimes you gotta be realistic in this climate with COVID still.
Yeah.
And like this time of year as well, what you're actually going to get.
That's the thing as well. It's
be
like
realistic.
The prices that we were paying for accommodation, for parking, all the rest of it, that's what I would expect to pay like a peak season.
Yeah.
You know, 75 quid a night for a room in a hotel. Like, I don't think I've paid that much during the summer, like to stay in a travel lodge, like, I don't know, when we went to Nottingham.
Yeah.
You know, I think at most we paid like 50 quid. So, but, so the fact I don't like Bournemouth and the fact that they, fine, changing the goalposts, not a problem, but it's the towel drop that pissed me off, because like nobody has time to gear up for it.
Yeah.
You don't have enough time to play test up against Tau. So like everybody who isn't running Tau are kind of like, cool, so I'm just going to build a list and hope I don't face against Tau. Excellent. You know?
I know it's different scale, but obviously we had our Mathematics tournament the week before beachhead, and I had to make a decision what we was going to do with like the rule pack, because Chapter Boot was coming out 1 week before.
Yeah, because we played 2021 pack, didn't we? Which was the Sunday before, and then obviously we then jumped over to the 2022 pack, which I think I'd only played 2 games of that pack, and I think there was a lot of players at the event that hadn't played more than 5 games going into that event of the new pack. So like I think it was just the fact that the GW releases dropped at the wrong time for Beachhead. So, but I think as a tournament organizer, they need to step up and say, in the interest of fairness, not to allow Tau, and maybe even not to allow the 22 pack.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Because if the release date was one day after the new codex, why not just pull the list date for 2 days? And it's just, everyone knows what they're doing. And
exactly. But unfortunately, they allowed Tau, which I know ruined.
I imagine if you get some top players whispering in their ears, crying,
yeah.
I'm sure
Who knows?
it doesn't take much to change people's opinions. So.
Adam and the gang, they did a really good job when the actual event was running. And they were quite shit hot on the FAQs as well leading up to the event.
Yeah.
Like literally you post a question up on the page and within like 5-6 hours they'd already posted up a reply.
Yeah.
You know, so that they were really shit hot in that sort of sense, but it was generally the fact that like the releases and the beachhead, it clashed, and I think they didn't make proper thought out decisions.
Yeah.
Like I said, if it was me running, then I would have just said, sorry Tau, you can't use your new shiny codex because literally your codex drops the day before list submissions. It's not fair on anybody.
Yeah. Because we had the same, because our list submission was on the day of chapter approved.
Yeah.
So I pulled it forward and said,
like I probably, like, if it was me in that position as well, I would have still said, yeah, you can use the 22 pack. But I definitely wouldn't have allowed Tau, and I definitely wouldn't have then allowed them to have those extra couple of days on this submission. But yeah, the actual being at the event and playing, I was happy with. Really liked Play Place Terrain. Really liked it. That was good. Like the time between rounds, they're quite heavy on, like, once time has been called, if you haven't handed in your points before, so you had 5 minutes from the end of time to hand in your points, and if you hadn't done it, you both score 0. Because
that's one way to do it.
Because they've got so many people there, they can't afford to lose time. So they were extremely shit on that, and I don't think anybody lost any points, but it was the fact of, like, you need to get this done. There's no hanging around. You've got 5 minutes to submit your scores, or you score 0, which is great, having that ruling with iron fist sort of thing at a big tournaments like that, because you have to be. Like, if I did that at, like, Math Miniatures RTTs, fuck me, it would have been an uproar. Well, I'm scoring 0. I'm hardly through turn 2 or whatever. It's like, well, fucking hurry up. Because it is extremely stressful, like, organising a tournament. It is really stressful. Like, even just as an RTT level, like, now you're doing it at, like, a major or striving to be a super major. You know, I would recommend anybody going, because it's a great experience going to big events, whether it would be, well, any tournament. I'd recommend anybody going to tournaments. But for me, it would have to be something drastically changes, or even if it just goes back to a 5-round event, for me to say, yeah, I'll be going next year. As it stands, I don't think I will be going next year, because I just wasn't a fan of the lead up, and I really don't like Bournemouth. Sorry, people from Bournemouth, you know, but I really don't like your hometown. So yeah, that was my experience.
That was Beachhead.
That was Beachhead.
Good times.
Yeah, good times.
Obviously, fucking BCP stars updated, so we don't know
I don't know
where our placements
where
are.
I am at the minute. It's really annoying.
Yeah,
I am still going to strive for top mids end of the season.
You okay now? Manny's jumped on the Casso train, so you're fine.
Oh yeah, I know. That was the thing as well. As soon as I saw Manny put that up, I saw Manny at the event. I was like, fucking hell, Manny, you know, he's taking away my dream now. I want to be top mid player of the event. He's like, oh, it's all right. It's okay, bro. It's okay, bro. I've taken it for lols. It's like, yeah, sure. Shits and giggles. Fun list, Manny. Right on. And yeah, he did really, really well. The games that I saw, like he played against that James guy I played in my last round.
Yeah.
I think that came down to a dice roll. He played against
George.
Yes, George played against Manny,
Malik,
and
someone else.
The guy who won the event.
Yep.
All in the same tournament.
He made Manny work for it though.
He did make Manny work for it.
64 points.
And he brought his score down as well.
Yeah.
So Manny didn't get to score his big points. So which could have actually cost Manny a podium. Playing George.
So obviously George as well, so make sure you go check out Real Space Raiders, because I imagine their next podcast will have
they'll do a review.
Paulie both speaking about their
Paulie
games.
did really well as well, I think.
He won all games, didn't he?
No, Paulie went 5-1-1, I think.
Did he?
I think he drew one of his games.
Did
I know that. I think actually no. He went 5-1-1 because I know he placed higher than George.
Yeah.
So, but I'm pretty sure he drew one of his games in day one.
Okay.
So, but yeah, that was beachhead.
Yeah. I know.
So
nothing else to add.
Nothing I think of. The only sort of things that I would say is go to big tournaments. You know.
Yeah.
Anthony now is like shit out on his list.
Yeah.
So because he's played against 7 players that he's never played against before.
Yeah.
You know, he did really well.
Yeah.
He went 3 and 4.
We're going to sit down with him, talk through his as well.
Yeah.
I imagine it'll be a lot more effort as well.
Well, it must be
from what he can remember.
It must be a Baron thing. So those of you who don't know, me and Anthony are cousins. So it must be a Baron thing where we seem to play better pissed. Because Anthony was fucking hanging in his last game. How the fuck he managed to pull off a win, I'll never know. So the coverage might be very shady. I might not remember a lot.
I think I did this.
Yeah, but yeah, he managed his win on his last game on the first day. So yeah, that was good. He was so drunk. So, but yeah, it must be a Baron thing where we play better drunk.
I think you and Mikey all placed in the top 100, so all in the top 50%.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I placed 47th.
Yeah, I mean, Mikey and Ant was down near just
I think
in 90s. 80s.
Yeah, I think Ant was 101.
Was he?
I think.
And then it's both quite close to each other.
Yeah. So, but no, it was a good event. You know, 6 out of 10, still ain't bad. I suppose. Yeah.
I do.
Would recommend, you know. But yeah.
I hope you made it to the end of this video, however long it is.
Yeah.
And I've had a
I'll
dog
be a bit waffling.
I've had my dog licking my leg all fucking day. So. But till next time, cheers and gone.